when we get there.
That's because we're going on time.
That's
it feels unnatural.
Yeah. What's going on, everybody? It is Saturday. I'm not used to saying that. May 11th. You're getting a Saturday dose of Josh. I flipped off of tomorrow's strategy show where I normally am because it's the final day of the Premier League and there's absolutely no way I'm doing a DFS show while Liverpool is playing for a championship. So
I wondered what the impetus was, because I'm like, Adam's not traveling. Why is Adam telling me he's going to be on with me on Sunday? Adam doesn't do Sundays.
No, I was like, hey, Adam, I need to switch Saturday and Sunday. And let's be clear here. You don't have an option.
Well, and you've covered for him many a time. So Ship My Modem does have markers out to most of us here at Osimo.
Yeah, I'm tagging in a favor. Yeah, I can't be missing that tomorrow. It's going to be crazy if we win. So that's neither here nor there.
Now, I always forget if it's Liverpool that you like, but then I remember it is. Didn't they have some? They were on the ropes, but they had 3-0 game or something out of nowhere. They just crushed.
They were losing. Part. They lost the first leg of a semifinal. So you play a home and home.
Right?
They lost away to Barcelona 3-0. So they needed to overcome a 3-goal deficit. And not give up any goals. And that is exactly what they did. They scored 4 goals and 3 in the second half, and it was the coolest thing that I've ever watched in my entire life.
Barcelona, pretty good.
Barcelona, pretty good, yes. And the funny thing is, they did the exact same thing last year out of the Champions League. Blew a 3-goal deficit to get wiped back out. So.
Well, you've come full circle.
Yeah, so it's fantastic.
As they would say in Chasing Amy, you shared a moment.
Great movie. Watched it again recently, actually. Within the last couple months.
I really like that one. It gets a little weird at the end, but
sure.
Okay,
it goes in a direction you don't necessarily expect.
No, so before we get into Slate real quick, so Point Break, I'm sure you've seen it, not the remake, but the original.
Not in a long time, but,
all right,
yes,
but
I am very familiar with the movie.
Swayze, Bodhisattva. So at the very end, Keanu finally catches him, and he puts the cuffs on him, and then he lets him go out and surf the 50-year wave or whatever. Well, my friend in college thought it was a bullshit ending. So I had seen the movie once, but I had borrowed a videotape because it's way back in the day, and was watching it of his. And all of a sudden, right when he gives him the cuffs, it ends. My friend said that's how it should have ended. Him going to jail and spending the rest of his life in a cell, not getting to go free. So he just stopped recording.
No. Alrighty. Let's tackle this. We've got 2 slates. Some are different sizes than others. FanDuel has the 1:00 game. DK doesn't, right? That's the split, I believe.
Correct. I know DK doesn't because that's where I'm playing today.
So we're going to hit the early, then we'll hit the main slate. Going to work our way through it. MLB Strategy is the promo code. 50% off your first month with us. Any package you choose, any monthly package you choose, including packages with Fantasy Cruncher, you could use the code MLB Strategy and sign up with us. You should definitely do that because we're awesome. And
we are. And we're also awesome-o.
We are also Osimo. Try typing awesome after typing Osimo for a year and a half. Becomes a really difficult proposition.
It's no longer possible for me. So I type when I type the name Tim, I type time every single time. Oh, it's horrible. There are certain ways your fingers just stop working, and now I can't type Osimo anymore.
Yep, I hear you. Also need to plug Yahoo Sports. Thank you so much for being our presenting sponsor on this show, on the Deeper Dive, and on the Early Bird podcast. I'm gonna drop that unless you have it handy. Email.
I've got it. I'm gonna do you a favor here. I'm gonna drop it because in all of my Spotlight hitters and stacks articles, it is in the second paragraph, and it tells you how to sign up and get your Yahoo Sports rewards points with your first deposit.
MYSRPs.
And it gives you the link to go in with. So there we are. And we can refer back to that.
Perfect. So use the promo code AWESOMO after using that link. you can get $30 in Yahoo Sports Rewards points, up to $30 in Yahoo Sports Rewards points. Can't beat it. And if you use that link, won't affect anything you're doing. Just lets them know that you're coming for us. Alrighty, we've got a bunch of games to talk about, so let's dive in with a pretty big one on the FanDuel slate. Red Sox and Mariners. 6-run implied total for the Red Sox, 4.5 for the Mariners. It's Rick Porcello going up against Felix Hernandez. Porcello only projected for 7% ownership on FanDuel. He happens to be the third most expensive pitcher. A lot more ownership going to Cole Hamels, to Miles Michaelis, and to Michael Pineda. I like Porcello more than all three of those guys, but I am a known Rick Porcello lover. So any interest in Rick Porcello against your M's?
No, I am not a fan of Rick Porcello pretty much ever. He is an adequate pitcher, and if he was pitching in T-Mobile Park for the Mariners, I would not hate it. However, he is just not someone that I like to consider taking, and it's the lack of strikeouts is really what it comes down to. Now, even though over his last, 1,000 batters faced, both lefties and righties combined, he has a 22.5% strikeout rate. So that's, pretty solid, but he doesn't wow you. His as most right-handers, his bane of his existence is lefties, where over his last 500, he's giving up nearly a 200 isolated power. The Mariners do have a couple guys that can swing from their heels, Jay Bruce and Dan Vogelbach. So those are the guys that I would be looking to go with against Porcello. I'm sad that this isn't on the DK slate. So I have not given it a ton of thought to what my mix would be, but it would definitely include Vogelbach and Jay Bruce.
Okay. Yeah, I do love the Mariners. It's an interesting development here in that I think that the Mariners have some very viable bats at the top. Anything from Haniger, Santana, Vogelbach, Encarnacion, Jay Bruce, I don't have a huge problem with it. They're terrible to stack because it's just a sea of outfielders and first basemen.
But JP Crawford is up now.
Yes, he is. And
so
Shed Long, that's a thing that's going on. I don't know what that name is. Does not have a salary on FanDuel, I believe, but that's a person. So good luck to Shed Long today. I like both sides of this. I like Rick Porcello on FanDuel, especially at 7% ownership. I truly do prefer him to Cole Hamels if Hamels is 32% owned. Red Sox bats are Red Sox bats. Like Benintendi, Betts, and JD Martinez are crazy cheap. It's honestly downright silly at this point. The Red Sox are projecting as the chalk stack of the day against King Felix, and I don't really have a huge issue with that. They don't grade out super well for me dollar for dollar, but they have pretty much an unrivaled upside, except for maybe the Angels. Do you like any Red Sox bats?
Yes. Let me get to that starting lineup. I did. I wrote them up there in the Spotlight Hitters and Stacks article because when I was started writing this, it did not have a DK had not yet launched their slates, but 6.2 implied run total there going against Felix Hernandez, which is sad. The once and mighty King from 2006 until 2014 or 15. So 10 years, Josh. He averaged 217 innings per year with 206 and a half strikeouts per season, 3.1 ERA, 1.2 whip during that time. He won the Cy Young in 2010. He was second in 2009 and 2014. He was pretty damn awesome. It's sad that he has never made the playoffs, but now he is pitching to not go to the bullpen, which is not good for him. In his last two starts, he has allowed 5 home runs. 13 base runners. He does have 11 strikeouts in that time, but he is no longer someone to be afraid of. Look to the lefties first, but of course, Betts, Martinez, and Bogaerts, the killer bees there, are solid.
Yeah, they are the chalk stack right now, as they should be. And I have a hard time disagreeing. They're so easy to get to that I don't know how you avoid them. And I certainly don't want any King Felix on FanDuel.
No, it's sad. It's a sad day.
favorite bat in this game for me is probably JD. From the Mariners, it's Haniger if he's leading off.
He is leading off. I'm going Vogelbach, and I'm going Mitch Moreland. I'm going with the cleanup hitters, the lefty first baseman.
No issues there. To the Twins we go. Shout out Jake Odorizzi for making me look dumb yesterday. 5-run implied.
Jake Odorizzi for helping me sweep my cash games. I've started playing cash, Josh.
Nice. He didn't help me do anything yesterday besides lose more money. 5-run implied total for the Twins, 4-run implied total for the Tigers, 60% chance to win. It's Michael Pineda going for Minnesota. Spencer Turnbull for the Tigers? Is that official? I know it was undecided earlier.
Yes, it looks like that's who it is going to be.
Bill Turnbull? Spencer Turnbull it is. Cool. Pineda getting some love. 37% expected ownership on DK, 26 on FanDuel. I assume very little to none. Yeah, no ownership going to Spencer Turnbull, nor should it. Yeah, I don't understand the Pineda ownership. I have very little interest in him. I would take Dylan Bundy over Pineda if Pineda's 37 and Bundy's 3, and that's really crazy to me because I think Dylan Bundy stinks. I think Pineda's just going completely over-owned here. What are your thoughts on Pineda here against the Tigers?
The only reason he's worth considering is it is against the Tigers, who did get Kristen Stewart back, so that's going to help them out. They have. Oops, I don't think I have him. Let me hit refresh here. But outside of Stewart, Castellanos, they're not good. They're actually horrible. If we look at Miguel Cabrera, I think I may have said this last Sunday, but he's now on pace for 5 home runs and 70 RBI.
Fantastic.
Full season, and he still has a 100, just over a 100 ISO dating back to last year. Not good times.
No,
you're not getting a discount on Miguel Cabrera. He is priced appropriately for what he's doing. But that would be my only reasoning for considering Miguel or Michael Pineda here. It's just he's never realized his talent. He gets into jams. He has, despite having just a 6% walk rate over his last 150 batters, which is a nice improvement for what he's done. He allows the ball to go in play. He burns pitches at the worst time. And as a Mariner fan who was fingers crossed hoping he would be good for us and then hoping he would not be good for the Yankees, one of those dreams came true. He's just not worth going to. So I would actively look to making sure I have 3 to 5% of my 150 with a Detroit at least 3-man stack to go against the masses here.
Yeah, this is going to look really similar for me to yesterday in that I will have an excessive amount of Tigers to hedge the ownership of Michael Pineda. I'm not a big Michael Pineda fan. Didn't work yesterday. Certainly no problem going back to the well because that's just how it's going to be. And I know that's how it's going to be. I could tell from the ownership and Pineda's, color on my screen, basically. And I can't imagine getting the Turnbull at $500 more expensive than Pineda. That just seems like craziness. I don't like Pineda, but I certainly like him more than Turnbull. From a hitting perspective, Twins and Tigers getting a ton of love on FanDuel and like a decent amount of love on DraftKings. I prefer the Tigers side to the Twins side, oddly enough. Mostly just a price thing. I think the Twins are probably easier to stack up on FanDuel, though. Do you have a preference for bats in this game?
Let's give it a look here. Well, yes, I like them all. I'm good with Kepler, Polanco, Cruz, and Rosario. I don't hate Jonathan Scope. There was somebody on one of our shows said it was going to be really hard to stack the Twins yesterday.
All of us.
Except me, because Yahoo, I wrote them up on Yahoo, and I put my lineup that I built, Josh, with my article, and I ended up cashing 4x in the $5, and I forgot to go back and check the lineup, but until this morning. But I ended up 53rd here out of 1,336. Pardon me, 1,136 entries. So I got $20. The great part, I actually cashed in the Yahoo Cup free roll. I got 260th out of 34,000.
Nice.
Yeah, so not too shabby. But they are a little spendy, so I understand not wanting to go there, but I think that will keep their popularity in check. But again, the first 4 guys would be the ones that I would be looking for against Turnbull, who I think is an adequate pitcher. But I just, with the nearly 5 implied run total, despite it just being 60 degrees here at first pitch, I don't really want to go to Turnbull today, but he's someone I do have my eye on.
Yeah, I don't expect to get to much Twins at all. I assume they'll be my biggest fade. They don't grade out well for me dollar for dollar, and since Turnbull's not going to get any ownership, they won't get pulled up. So, yeah, only guy that I really like for the Twins would be Nelson Cruz. He kind of just transcends slates because of his power.
Do you know who does like Pineda?
Everybody else, apparently.
Sean V.
Well, yeah, that makes me feel fine.
All right, now everybody in chat, now take a moment here. I want you to look at Josh's face as I show him my T-shirt.
I don't know what that is. That's just 2 baseball bats.
Well, it's a little dark, but it says, "What would Sean V do?" WWSVD. There we go. Money shot. Money shot.
That's not what that phrase means.
What wouldn't Sean V do? It's great to have a wife that's very crafty and has one of those cricket things, so she can make any T-shirt that pops into mind. So it's a lot of fun for birthdays and special occasions, like wondering what Sean V would do.
You should be embarrassed. No one should want this shirt.
It's one of a kind.
So is he.
It's just now hitting chat, so we'll see what happens.
I mean, there's basically no reason to continue this show, right? It's over. We're done.
Wrap it up. It's in the books.
I think Adam updated his phone. I think he's able to see Slack pictures now. So kudos to Adam for investing in technology. Probably would have went with the laptop over the cell phone, but whatever works for you, man. I got nothing now. Go to play the Tigers, I guess. I don't know. I'm shook.
There we are. I once I mentioned this to her 2 days ago. She's like, "Oh yeah, I can make one of those for you." And I said, "Oh, that'll be good. I'll have to save it for Sunday when I'm on with Josh." But no, I was given a gift. I get Josh on Saturday.
Favorite bat in this game? Roster Nelson Cruz from the Twins. Fade the ownership. It's too high. Spencer Turnbull's not that bad.
Yes. All right. It's
I'm
okay.
Sad. Cardinals taking on the Pirates. 4.8 run implied total for the Cards. 3.7 for the Pirates. 61% chance to win for the Cards. Miles Michaelis going for St. Louis. Jordan Lyles going for the Pirates. Feel free to skip out on Jordan Lyles. Michaelis, 24% owned on FanDuel, 32% owned on DK. I'm normally like a really big Miles Michaelis guy. Homeboy getting owned way too much today. Not my scene, especially him being the 3rd most expensive pitcher on DK. I'm not a fan of the ownership. I am a fan of Michaelis as like a everyday pitcher, but this is a terrible strikeout matchup. He's not a strikeout guy. I mean, what you're hoping for here is Miles Michaelis to throw 9 innings. Not my cup of tea for today. What do you think, Michaelis?
Yeah, I don't even think we're going to see a quality start from him. He does have reasonably good underlying numbers from a real-life baseball perspective. He does not allow a lot of power. In his last 460 righties faced, he has a 100 ISO. Against lefties, last 535, he has a 150 ISO. I would look to the lefties here. Fortunately, there's a lot of them, but this is more like two-mans or one-offs for me. My favorite would probably be Polanco, who he got the day off yesterday. Josh Bell rounding into form here, so I like him. And Frazier always as a leadoff option. Let's see. Nope, he's been priced up. 37 on DK is a good price for him. 33 on FanDuel, I'm not as excited, and 11 on Yahoo, I'm moderately interested in, but I do like him as a leadoff hitter. But we'll probably find better matchups in this 6-game early slate or 7-game, depending on your side of choice.
Yeah, I have very little interest in hitting here. Like I said, I think Michaelis is a solid real life pitcher. So getting to Pirates, Frazier, Marte, Polanco is about it for me, and I don't get the sense that I would have a ton for the Cardinals. It's pretty much just Carpenter and Goldschmidt, but this is not a spot where I'm expecting to get much ownership outside of the Pirates getting pulled up for leverage purposes, which I don't even necessarily love, but they could see a little bit more ownership than I would normally get just because of Michaelis's ownership.
Yes, I see they've appropriately priced the Cardinals on DK today. They were a little underpriced yesterday with Carpenter and Goldie, but they're at 43 and 44 respectively. Solid options, but not racing to them like we were yesterday.
Anything else in this game?
No, that will actually do it. There might be a hint of, let me see, is this one? Yeah, this is one of the weather games. 50-50 shot of rain. Just keep your eye on it. It's going to be 50 degrees, which is unseasonably cool there in St. Louis for this time of year. But just keep an eye on it. I looked last night, but it was more roving storms than anything to really be concerned about. But just double check it to make sure it's going to go.
Tyler Glass now out 4 to 6 weeks. That's a bummer.
Oh, man.
Cubs and Brewers. Cubs 4-run implied total. Brewers 3.3. It's a 59% chance to win for the Cubbies. God, that win must be really aggressive. Cole Hamels going for Chicago. Zach Davies going for Milwaukee. Hamels grading out as my third best pitcher on DraftKings, third best pitcher on FanDuel. He's getting ownership, but I'm cool with that. The scariest part of the Brewers is their lefty power. Cole Hamels should be able to negate that at least a little bit. So I actually agree with the ownership here. And clearly, I have no interest in Zach Davies against the Cubs. How do you feel about Hamels?
I'm not really thrilled with the $9,700 price in matchup. He is much improved from that what now appears to be an outlier year when he was in Texas, giving up a lot of solo home runs. So I agree with you. He should neutralize the lefty hitters, but there are a lot of righties coming in from the Brewers, and they do have some power. So 50 degrees here at first pitch. If I get him, I'm okay with it, but I suspect I will be at most with the field, if not about half of the field today.
Okay. Yeah, I have Bauer and Bauer clearly ahead of him, and then Porcello is my dude. And I really need to get off the Rick Porcello train so that I can just be sane on a day-to-day basis. But sometimes you need to get yesterday's star Rick Porcello. So I don't get to make that joke tomorrow morning, unfortunately. For the Brewers, I think there are some bats that are viable. Clearly, Ryan Braun has never had much trouble hitting a dong off of a lefty. I don't get the sense that Jesus Aguilar would have any trouble as well. 3% expected ownership for him at 3,500 on DraftKings is insane. I don't care how he's hitting. Definitely a guy that I have some interest in. But it's going to be hard to get a lot of volume from the Brewers. I think that the Brewers look worse than Cole Hamels, so Hamels would be my priority. For the Cubs, Schwarber looks great on Yahoo and FanDuel as a home run threat at the bottom of the order. I don't mind getting to the top of the Cubs. The problem is they're incredibly expensive in a very, very poor offensive environment. So I don't really see the Cubs as very viable. This one's mostly just Hamels for me.
I would concur with that. I'm just running some preliminary crunches here, and it looks like Hamel is probably going to be my number 3 or my number 4 most popular pitcher in my lineups. I see that we have him at the field at 34. I'm coming in at 37. I'll probably knock that down just a little bit. But I have two pitchers I really like. One I'm okay with. And that's about it on this early slate, just because of the way matchups are, lack of strikeouts, or tougher opponents. So I am going to probably end up coming in around where the field is on Hamill. So I wanted to clarify that.
Okay. Heading to Toronto, the Blue Jays and White Sox. 5-run implied total for the Jays, 4 for the Sox. 60% chance to win for Toronto. Marcus Stroman going for the Blue Jays. Ivan Nova going for the White Sox. Stroman, 33% ownership on DK, which is just healthy ownership. And it makes sense to me in a way, but I can't imagine if Rick Porcello is 8K and Marcus Stroman is 8K, that Stroman gets 33% ownership and Porcello gets 1. That is so far out of the realm of possibility for me that I would rather flip it. I'd rather have 33% Porcello and 1% Stroman, given those two percentages. I have Porcello twice as likely to hit a 30-point target score than I do for Stroman, actually. So I know this is a fantastic matchup. White Sox K a ton. Stroman's just not that kind of guy. Too good of a real pitcher. Not good enough of a DFS pitcher. Although, I guess you could probably say a similar thing about Porcello. I'm not going to have much Stroman because of that ownership. I will definitely have more of the top part of the White Sox order. How do you feel about Stroman?
My number one pitcher on the slate, price per dollar.
Okay.
And so I'm just running another crunch here to see what happens, because my last one capped out at 63%, or 63 of my 100 lineups. So I had to increase a few things. So it looks like he's going to come in at my self-imposed current cap of 60%. And fine with that. He has been a really good pitcher over his career. He does have strikeout ability, which is nice, but that is not his main game. His main focus is ground balls. Yeah. And over his last 700 batters, he has just shy of a 60% ground ball rate. In turn, that means he has a 20% fly ball rate, and the remainder come out in line drives. But he's someone that does not allow a lot of power. Now, when I say a lot of power, doubles and home runs. They hit the ball hard, but fortunately, it hits the turf before it gets out of the infield. So that is very helpful for him. So in this one, I'm hoping that he gets a bit of a boost here on his strikeouts. I'm hoping for about 1 per inning. I'm hoping he goes about 7 innings. I'm okay with him giving up, say, 3 runs. So that's where I'm kind of getting him as my top pitcher. If we look at the lineup, is that the final one? It's not in officially yet, but if you look at the White Sox dating back to the beginning of last season, Moncada striking out a third of the time, Anderson, Delmonico, McCann are all a quarter of the time, Luis Garcia a quarter of the time. So there's some hidden, well, not so hidden, but there's some available strikeouts here for Stroman. So I do like that. And at least these guys are going to be swinging the bat. So if the ball goes in play, it's going to be on the ground. And I'm hoping he gets some efficient innings today, Josh.
Yeah, that's what I see. I see him being fine. I just can't get that sort of volume of him. Stroman and Pineda just naturally pivot to Porcello and Bundy for me. And I don't like what I'm saying there, particularly on the Bundy side, but just an ownership play if I'm mass entering. Blue Jays bats, there's a piece of the middle of this order that is just scary to me. I'll roster Vlad Guerrero every day. I don't care that he hasn't gone yard yet. He is pretty clearly my favorite Blue Jays bat. I like Smoke, Tellez, Grichuk. I have no problem targeting against Ivan Nova. He doesn't strike anybody out. He's not particularly good. Blue Jays come in as my number 3 stack on DK. I would just be happy to have quite a bit of the Jays. I'd love for Eric Sogard to not be hitting lead off. I don't know why I enunciated it like that. Lead off. But I don't mind so much since he'll be coming as part of a stack, either as a second baseman on FanDuel or a second baseman shortstop on DK. Do you like the Blue Jays bats?
Yes, but they haven't materialized with what we're hoping for. But again, solid spot here, as you mentioned. Ivan Nova not really going to scare anybody. He is, what is he, 10, 11 years into his career, still death to righties, but can give up more, or is giving up more and more power against lefties, and he, for the life of him, cannot strike him out. So that means Smoke and Rowdy are going to, God, those would be perfect NASCAR drivers, Smoke and Rowdy. Hey, there you go. Days of Thunder Part 2. Grichuk does have fine power in righty-righty matchups. And then speaking of power, you got Nerd Power leading off there in Eric Sogard. Where is he priced around the industry today? 4K on FanDuel, 48 on DraftKings.
Yeah, he's not a great one-off option.
Yeah, we'll just root for him, but he's probably not going to end up on many, if any, of my teams outside of potential stacking against Nova.
Any White Sox bats for you? I think they are an interesting leverage stack for some of the power guys: Moncada, Abreu, Alonso, James McCann if you need a catcher, although he's crazy expensive. Nicky Delmonico. I kind of like getting to the White Sox as some leverage to Stroman, but they do grade out as my worst stack of any single team. So they'll get pulled up a little bit. I can't get to any volume. I'm too nervous about Stroman as a real pitcher. But would you want to hedge at all?
No, I will by default, but I think this will be like 3-mans, or I'm guessing they'll pop up in some of my 2-mans. Again, with Stroman, doesn't allow a lot of base runners and gets enough ground balls, so there's double plays, a lot of fielders' choices, etc., which means when things do go sideways for him, there's really nobody on base. Yeah. So that does not portend well for our hitters.
No, not at all. Not my favorite thing, other than Stroman's ownership being an interesting thing to pay attention to. Let's head to Oakland now. Oakland, 3.7 run implied total. Cleveland, 4.3. It's a 57% chance to win for the Indians. Aaron Brooks on the hill for the A's. Trevor Bauer going for the Indians. This should come as no surprise, but Trevor Bauer, I don't think that anybody would disagree that Trevor Bauer has the highest ceiling of anybody on the early slate. He is clearly my number one pitcher. He's at 33% ownership, and if Bauer's at 33 and there are other people like Hamels and Michaelis and Stroman and Pineda in the 30s, I'd rather just have 100% Trevor Bauer and figure it out after that. Fantastic place to play for Trevor Bauer. Pitching in Oakland is fantastic. They have quite a few righty bats that strike out a ton. It really, I mean, the fact that the A's are decent is really the only saving grace. I love Trevor Bauer here. Couldn't get enough of him.
And I would agree, and I would think that models probably are not keeping up with the fact that Chris Davis has 2 pinch hitting appearances in the last week. He's dealing with the hip issue. We have Matt Olson, who did return from his broken hamate bone, and let's see, he's been back for 4 games. He has 4 hits in 17 at bat, so not horrible. The one issue when you break your hamate bone, so it's the bone that's at the bottom of your hand, and it's not something that will affect you swinging. It's a relatively quick, as we've seen, about a 6-week recovery time. The problem is it does affect your power, and it starts to hurt when you roll over on the bat. So what happens there is the phrase is sap the power. Your power gets sapped, and that's the hallmark of Matt Olson here. So Adam and I talked about this on the early bird, but I buy into the fact that does affect things for hitters, and it makes me a little bit nervous, much like a wrist injury or a thumb injury does as well. So I think while Olson is going to be out there, I don't know that he has home run upside, and I don't think he does today against Bauer. So congratulate him on his 2 home run game today. But for me, Bauer is going to probably be on close to 2/3 of my DK lineups.
Yeah, when I run a crunch and sort, I assume that I'll get Bauer north of 90%. He's just on a completely different level for this slate.
So, and that's a good question. Just quickly here on the DFS strategy show, I know you like to play the leverages a lot, but you're fine going that heavy on a particular pitcher?
Yeah, I think that if he's owned at 33% on DraftKings, he is dramatically under-owned for the rest of the pitching. What do I have his implied ownership at? That's a good question. Where's Bauer? Oh, found him. I almost scrolled right to him. Yeah, so on DK, I think that he should be more along the lines of like 80% owned in an optimal scenario. So 33% is not keeping me away.
What do you have him for DK points? Like 23, 24?
21.6.
Okay. And how much do you weight the win in your projections? Do you weight it very much?
However much I give him a percentage chance of picking up the win and just assign the points based on that. So I give Bauer a 37% chance of picking up a win, which is one of the higher numbers on the slate. Yeah, people probably look at it and think like, why is it 37? The Indians have a 57% chance to win. But
the bullpen guys, the bullpen tie ball game.
Yep. Yeah.
Losing the lead.
Yeah.
After you've gone
just
out
because
of the game.
Not only do you need the Indians to win, but most starters pick up wins in like 60% of their starts or something along those lines. So, hey, you got to lower those numbers. That's what gets you to in the 30s. Yeah, I can't get enough of Bauer. He's very, very clearly the top option. I have him hitting the 30% or the 30-point target score on DraftKings 20% of the time. The next closest name is at 7%. So he's just, I want those points. Oakland bats are a real tough sell for me. Terrible park, really tough matchup. I don't anticipate getting much, if any. And for the Indians bats, they are my number 3 rated stack. Actually, number 2 rated stack on DraftKings. They are popular. That should be no surprise, but I will get a ton of Cleveland bats as well. Not my favorite park to target, but I mean, these guys are just like Lindor at 4,200 as a shortstop. Kipnis 3,200 on DraftKings. Jose Ramirez, Carlos Santana, both 4K. You can't help yourself. You just easily get to these guys. Any interest in Indians bats?
Yes, absolutely. And I'm looking at the weather here because for St. Louis, someone had mentioned in chat that the game's going to be delayed. So I'm just checking out to see. It looks like some of those storms that I saw consolidated, but around, let me do the math, around 4 o'clock Central, it's clear sailing. So that would be, they'll get this game in. It'll probably be, I would say, an hour, maybe a 90-minute delay, but they should be able to play it clean.
Yeah.
For the Indians, I really, really like them. Aaron Brooks, 29 years old, Josh. And in his 29 years walking this earth, he has just 92 innings in the bigs. 7.2 earned run average, 1.6 whip. In his last 5 starts, 8 home runs in just 25 innings, just 19 strikeouts. Let's see. Last season against his combined hitters, or dating back to last season, the 144 batters he has faced, a 240 ISO, a 40% hard hit rate, a 40% fly ball rate. Load him up. Love him. Maybe the Bat Boy can get in as well for this one.
All righty. Final game for the DK peeps. Orioles and Angels. Orioles 4.6 run implied total, Angels 5.4, 58% chance to win for LA or Anaheim, whatever. I think both. Dylan Bundy going for Baltimore. Matt Harvey going for the Angels. Very little ownership going to Bundy, just 3%, 12% going to Matt Harvey, oddly enough. I have Bundy better than Harvey. Look, it's not a great strikeout matchup. LaStella doesn't K, Trout doesn't K, Andrelton Simmons really doesn't K. Baltimore, not a great park. You're not getting the great implied total. Dylan Bundy is someone who is prone to getting absolutely shellacked, but if he's going completely unowned, I don't see him as all that different from a top end perspective than Michael Pineda. I don't need to get a ton of Dylan Bundy because I think he's bad. But if the top of the Angels lineup is going to continue to get ownership, I think having some shares of Bundy, if he is unowned, is a reasonable play on a 5-game slate. Or is it 6? 6-game slate?
6.
Yeah. Hard keeping track of all these different sites.
Oh, yeah. It's always fun trying to
Any
do content.
interest in Bundy?
10%, basically just to make things work out. I do want to point out that, as you mentioned, the Angels don't strike out. They are actually, their active roster has the lowest strikeout against lefties and the lowest strikeout in the league rate against righties. And they are a good 3 to 4% below the next lowest team. There are no Ks in this lineup. It's pretty impressive when you look at it.
Yeah.
And they do have, I suspect Shohei Ohtani will play today, but that really improves their lineup dramatically. It gives Trout a wingman that's not named Cole Calhoun. And suddenly, Jonathan Lucroy seems to be hitting home runs regularly now. That's surprising. Justin Bour being disappointing, also surprising.
Yeah.
But maybe he'll relax and clear his head down at the bottom of the lineup, Josh.
Maybe. Angels are my number one rated stack dollar for dollar on DK. So this is a spot where I'm going to have a lot of both sides. In my non-Angels lineups, I would get the sense that I'll have a decent amount of Dylan Bundy and, vice versa. Those two things stand out. And so much of that is just Trout and Ohtani. Just two fantastic bats at the top of the order. I always love Pujols. He did not play yesterday, so maybe he'll feel nice and rested. But don't be afraid to be on both sides here. From a Baltimore perspective, it's VR, Mancini, Chris Davis, and that's pretty much it for me, the same way that it is every other day. They're a middle-of-the-pack stack. Matt Harvey's 12% ownership makes me a little bit interested in five-mans for Baltimore, but I think there are better options out there.
Yeah, and Baltimore's they're getting better. They're not as over the last couple of weeks have not been as abysmal as they were to start the season. Props to Chris Davis for shaking out of the doldrums. He is still not going to hit his weight this season, but he might get close to the Mendoza line, which will be good to see. But he is the first guy I like. Second for me would be Mancini. But the problem is those guys are not going to be adjacent in the batting order, so you're going to need to look to Rio Ruiz or potentially Smith. Should be one of those guys will be batting cleanup.
There we go. Early slate is in the books. I am dumping the main slate in now. 7-gamer? Or did I select this incorrectly?
7. Yeah, I think it's 7.
Okay. Got to make sure that I didn't...
No, it's 8.
Is it 8? Then I missed a time. Which one did I miss?
There's 2. There's Miami and New York and Philly and KC are the 7 o'clock games.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Why am I only getting 7 here? Do I have teams unselected?
Let's see. The Nats, San Fran, Arizona, Colorado. Did you pull Colorado out for any reason?
I don't know what I'm doing here. Let me try to figure this out. Who am I missing?
While you're looking at that, reminder, if you have not yet signed up for Osmo, utilize the promo code. What's our promo code today, Josh?
MLB strategy.
MLB strategy for 50% off any 1-month package. Throw in Fantasy Cruncher. You don't get the discount on that, but it is at a discounted rate from the Fantasy Cruncher price because they have partnered with us to promote their product. And it is a top-notch product.
I have no idea what game I'm missing here. All right, I'm going to start naming teams. You tell me what I'm missing. Astros, Braves, Diamondbacks, Dodgers, Giants, Marlins, Mets, Nats, Padres, Phillies, Rangers, Reds, Rockies, Royals.
Did you say Giants?
Giants, Reds, yes.
Tigers,
Twins. No
Philly.
Tigers, Twins. That's
There
my
you go.
issue. What time is that Tigers?
Wait.
Twins game?
Wait. Is that a double head? That's a double header. That's why it's screwing you up. That's why it's screwing you up. So it does look like they are on the DK main slate. Let me go look at the contest to make sure. They are on the late slate, so that's what's mucking with you. Which reminds me, I've not sent my season-long teams today because that's usually when I notice there's double headers.
Well, I definitely don't have that game entered in here correctly. That's for sure.
Let's see. It is.
I'm going to need to delete everything before this. Well, let's save this.
Gregory Soto? Who the hell is that? He's pitching.
I'll have to do that one on the fly. I need to save this as the early slate, so I have 2 separate files.
And Cole Stewart. Yikes. We're going to want the hitters in this one. You guys are going to want to make sure you know what's going on with the lineups because, of course, they can change depending on what happens in that first game.
Yep.
But, wow, we have some abysmal pitchers. 2 sub $6,000 pitchers here on DK. I'm guessing. Let's see, MLB starting lineups. They use so when you have doubleheader, you get one extra roster spot to bring up a pitcher to help out, so it doesn't count against your 25-man active roster, and that is Gregory Soto. He's coming up from Double-A Erie. This will be his major league debut, and he is the 26th ranked prospect according to MLB Pipeline. However, Josh, he has made 3 appearances above Class A ball.
Okay. I'm adding Soto to my table now. I don't have this game loaded up, so I'm going to take a quick second to update my sheet and add in the second game. I had everything in one big one, and it was just taking the early slate first. So we've got Gregory Soto. I don't think I entered his name right. Is it just Greg Soto on Fangraphs? It's not. It is Gregory Soto. Good to know. Do you know if he's a lefty or a righty by any chance?
He is a lefty.
He's a lefty. Okay. Oh, wow. He's got a monster.
He's got should have fastballs, I think.
Gregory Soto, lefty. Got him. That's not how you spell Gregory, but that's certainly not going to pull through after that. All right. Gregory Soto in. And then Cole Stewart pitching for the Twins, correct?
Yes. That's Cole as in Kohl.
Got him. I wasn't going to go Coal, that's for sure. Let's grab their lineups and then we can move forward.
There we go. Oh, chat's saying you're mad at me. You look depleted. No. Josh is just not used to being on air on a Saturday. Why
would I be mad at EMAC?
I don't know. Well, there is one reason. Llama Trainer, this one is for you. My official, you can't quite see it. What would Sean V do t-shirt? There you go.
Brutal. No, I find that hilarious.
Would you like one?
I would never wear that.
You could pin it behind you on your wall.
Looks like really expensive toilet paper to me.
Soft and luxurious.
I actually used that gimmick in high school. I had a beach towel printed for one of our rival schools. I didn't have it printed. We just happened to have one. It was from the town my mom was from. And I took that and I hid it in my pants.
Oh no.
Along with a sign that said free toilet paper. I just held that up on the baseline at a basketball game with the big logo of their school name, that sign. Yeah, it was good. It was good. You know what the best part of that is? I didn't go to either of those schools.
Oh, that is the epitome of Josh Engelman right there, fellas.
Yeah.
Right
there. One of my best friends went to the Catholic school in our town, so he played for them, and that was the game that we were at. So I was the honorary member of their, I don't know, pep section because I just didn't care. I knew I couldn't get in trouble at that game and have it affect me in my day-to-day. I got tossed from a game once unrelated to my school. Same sort of scenario. I got called into my principal's office that next day. I heard you were removed from the game. I was like, yeah, I was. Do you have anything to say? I was like, yeah, this has nothing to do with you. They're like, yeah, that's probably fair. I was like, I think I'm allowed to be a dick in other places. This has nothing to do with our high school. If I get thrown out of our own gym, I get it. This is me on my free time. It was the right call too. Refs were garbage that day. Anyway, let's talk main slate. Let me resort this little table here. I'm just happy the main slate is balanced across everything. When they're not the same, it's really a huge pain for content creators. I don't think people understand how big of a pain it is to talk about things that don't match. I hate it. I hate it so much. All right, DraftKings ownership projections are posted for me. FanDuel as well. Oh, God. With Sean V's knowledge of sports, why hasn't he gotten a job offer yet? Some of his takes are better than the guys in here. That is fantastic. Yeah. Not going to be coming anytime soon. Might be skewing a little bit different than the normal Awesemo.com theory. I don't think we're going to be looking at too much at what am I looking for? What's the word? Like astrology signs. Find out who's going to hit home runs and stuff.
Birthdays, bobbleheads.
Yeah.
Hometowns.
Yeah. Not going to happen. All right. First game up on the main slate. Mets and Marlins. Big time pitching here. 4.3 run implied total for the Mets, 2.3 for the Marlins. 74% chance to win for New York. Jake DeGrom going for the Mets. Sandy Alcantara going for Miami. If I resort my little table here, I can let everybody know that Jake DeGrom is my number one pitcher on DraftKings. Tied for my number one pitcher on FanDuel, and the number two pitcher for me on Yahoo. Most expensive, but $59. Really difficult to not want to have Jake DeGrom here. Unless you have a problem with ownership, he is the chalk pitcher of the day on these sites. 55% ownership on DraftKings. The even crazier part, 80% of all ownership is going to the four most expensive pitchers on DraftKings right now.
Interesting. I'm looking at it here. Yeah, 11K. So just eyeballing it while my crunches are running. I'll probably have half DeGrom, which would be my guess. I'll get probably a third Garrett Cole. I will probably dabble with some John Gray. And yeah, then it's really dicey. I don't really like the matchup for Scherzer. Never know what's going to happen with Walker Buehler here. Samardzija at 8K on DK. That's not an SP2 I'm going to be looking to. Desclafani at 9,200. Am I on the right? Good God, 9,200 for Anthony Desclafani. Yeah, so why not go to DeGrom? It's not like you have to pay that much more.
No, he looks fantastic here. The ownership is scary, but if every other stud is getting the same ownership, it's really hard to have a huge problem with facing the Marlins. A 2.3 run implied total, I think, is the lowest I've seen this year. 74% chance of the Mets winning. I think that might be the highest line I've seen this year. When I entered it, I don't know if it's moved or not now. The Mets were minus 300. That is massive.
Minus 290, but yeah.
Down to 286 now on Pinnacle. But either way, massive game here. Just don't overthink it. Don't be afraid to play Jake DeGrom. Like I said, I have him just a hair above Scherzer. I have both of those guys a pretty full step ahead of Garrett Cole. I have very little interest in Alcantara. I have very little interest in Marlins bats, which should not be terribly surprising. I don't really get to the Mets at all. Shout out to the Mets for breaking yesterday's slate. I'm good. I don't have anything here other than Jake DeGrom. What about you?
I need a ruling from Sean B here, but what about Granderson and Neil Walker? They should be familiar with the hitting backdrop there in Citi Field.
Granderson is in play every day because they refuse to move his price.
And they've seen DeGrom pitch a lot, so that's got to be helpful as well.
Yeah. I never have an issue going to Curtis Granderson. $7 on Yahoo in the leadoff spot. He pretty much always has the platoon advantage. 2,500 FanDuel, 31 DK. Getting to one off Curtis Granderson is super easy.
Yeah, in all honesty, I think he's fine and would not surprise me if he trickles into about 10% of my lineups where I'm not running stacks when I run my 5-0s or my 4-0s.
Okay. Any Alcantara for you?
No.
It's really that easy.
So here's the problem. He's 6,000.
Yeah.
We talked about some other garbage pitchers here. So I'm only running 100 lineups right now.
Okay.
And relatively relaxed rules at this point. So I doubt I would get more than 15% of him, but that would be more of a function of where I'm running, double stacks and need to have, because I usually set a rule, and especially on a slate this size, I won't allow more than 2 batters going against my pitcher. And sometimes that you kind of have to get there depending on how, or you need to do that just depending on how many lineups you're running. But you want to make sure when you're doing that they're generally, and usually this works this way with the projections, they're generally coming against your crappier SP2s in that case. So I suspect I will have a little bit. but not if I was hand building, he wouldn't even make the short list.
I agree. To the
Do you know
Royals. What'd you say?
Do you know who would? Brad Keller.
Royals 4.2 run implied total. Phillies 4.8, 57% chance to win for the Phillies. Brad Keller going for the Royals. Zach Eflin going for the Phillies. Brad Keller, not a guy going to end up in any of my lineups. Zach Eflin, not a guy going to end up in any of my lineups. Neither guy projecting for any ownership whatsoever. So the floor is yours. Talking about Brad Keller.
So here's the thing we like about Brad Keller. He does not allow power. Literally does not allow power. About 800 combined hitters, and he has a 100 isolated power. And that's pretty much it's like 90 to lefties and like 107 or whatever it is to righties. I'm going off memory here, or that could be reversed. But he just doesn't allow power. Now, tough lineup. He's going against here in Philly because they don't have the pitcher. They've now got the DH because this one is in Kauffman Stadium. Kind of back to the Keller side of things, it's going to be about 50-55 at first pitch here. So that helps a little bit. And Kauffman Stadium is actually, when it's cooler, is more of a pitcher's park because it actually has one of the larger outfields outside of Coors, Petco, Safeco, etc. But it plays much smaller in the summer months, and that's what we tend to remember. So it actually is a decent spot for him. He is the guy I'm okay with at my SP2, but it's fingers crossed we get a quality start, Josh. And I'm hoping for 3 to 4 strikeouts. So it's more, can you not get your ass kicked? And that's where he's coming in for me ahead of somebody like Jesse Chavez or either of the guys in the Twins, Detroit doubleheader, etc. So that's where I'm going with that. If the roof was closed in Arizona, which it is not going to be today, I would consider Kevin Gausman more in this spot. But for me, I'm going with Keller today.
I have him projected for 5.2 Ks, if that helps you.
That's nice.
I would also not have any Brad Keller or Zach Eflin. I don't really have much here. The Royals are near the bottom for stacks. Phillies are in the mid-tier. Nobody's really getting any ownership on any of the sites. Phillies are low. Royals are low. This game is sort of just a game that doesn't exist. So I hope it's like 4-3 with no home runs, or maybe like 5-4 with no home runs, something like that. Just enough that I don't feel bad about it. I like McCutchen, I like Harper, I like Mondesi as one-off options, but I don't get the sense that I'll stack up any side of this.
Yeah, and it comes down to the lack of power that Keller allows. So you're not going to get your bases clearing double because there's probably not going to be that many base runners, but he just does not allow power.
I love seeing stuff in chat where it's like, this stack burned me, never again. It just makes me know that like being profitable in DFS is just going to continue. The second that you are immediately marking something off because it went wrong for you, send me head-to-heads.
Hey, speaking of head-to-heads, I put out a bunch in both the main early and the main late slate there on DK and the $1. So jump on in, have some fun.
Go chop up EMAC, guys.
There you go.
Go get them. To the Astros we go. Astros and Rangers. 4.6 run implied total for the Stros. 4.7 for the Rangers. A 51% chance to win for Texas. I couldn't have typed this in correctly.
So you're a Jesse Chavez truther. Good to know.
What line did I type in for this game? No part of what I just said is true. Ignore everything that just came out of my mouth.
Did the Miami line get down there?
I must have put the Atlanta-Arizona line in that line. That is just not even remotely close. This is going to really change the way I think about Garrett Cole, too. What? No, I remember typing in bigger numbers for Garrett Cole's innings, too. I guess I didn't, so I need to move that to 6.3. Yeah, this is going to change the scope of my pitching. just a hair. Garrett Cole now in a virtual tie with DeGrom and Scherzer, separated by 0.1% on FanDuel and DK. So since he's getting very little ownership, this is 5.8 runs for the Astros, 3.5 for the Rangers, feeling a little bit more logical. Massive ownership going to Cole, as it should. These three guys at the top are basically the same. I have DeGrom projected for 9.3 Ks, Cole 9.4, Scherzer 9.1. I can't choose between them. I'm really anxious to see how it shakes out when I run crunches. I assume that I'll have a pretty normal amount of all three. Now I see why this is shaking out differently. I certainly am not going to Jesse Chavez, although it's possible that he shows up in a couple lineups just to prioritize expensive bats. Getting 4K pitchers will do that. How do you feel about Garrett Cole?
Really, 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 really like him. And that, I'm just looking here to see. I suspect, and I hit refresh, so it's killing my lineups and my crunch. Let's see if it saved it. It looks like, I went back to the early one. Hey, Liam Hendricks is opening for Aaron Brooks, for what that's worth. But I'm thinking that I would look to, I'm either going to have, and this is what I hate and why I'm hesitating, because we got a Coors Field game here, but I'm looking like I'll probably, most of my lineups are going to have either DeGrom or Cole on them tonight, which by the time all's said and done and I sort through things, I would say 2/3 of my lineups will have one of them.
Okay.
Because I need to, you know, hitters are what wins the games. And like last night, you couldn't pick a bad pitcher last night if you tried, but today you're really going to be pushing a lot of your salary cap towards pitching if you're going with DeGrom or Cole here on DK. But again, the secondary pitchers are garbage, and the guys that are you would normally think of as, oh, I'll take a chance on him as my SP2 are in San Francisco, and they're priced the hell up. So this is going to be an interesting slate this evening, Josh.
After looking at this, I expect to get very little Garrett Cole and a lot of Texas Rangers bats. I expect them to be my biggest hedge stack of the slate. Rangers grade out dollar for dollar as my third best stack on DK. I anticipate getting to a lot of Chu, Gallo, Mazzara, Odor. Any bit of Elvis Andrews or Hunter Pence will probably come along. It's a ton of outfielders. They're a really tough team to stack. But I think if I'm going against anyone, it's going to end up being Garrett Cole.
I think that's reasonable if you consider that he's really only been at this borderline elite level for about a season and a half.
Okay. Yeah, for real.
Whereas DeGrom has a long track record of being as good as he is, and arguably one of the top 5 pitchers in the game right now.
For sure. Astros bats, it's always the top of the order. Springer, Altuve, Bregman, Correa, Brantley. Take whatever you want out of that. I rarely get to them. They're just always sort of priced where they should be, but never feel bad about rostering the Astros, especially when they have the highest implied total on the slate. Any Astros bats standing out for you?
Just the usual,
okay,
as you mentioned. And Robinson Chirinos, don't be afraid to pay for him in this matchup. He'll probably be hitting 8th or 9th, but those home runs count at the bottom of the order. And we don't have fellow sub 200 hitter, but with power, Mike Zunino, who's on the injured list. So Chirinos is a nice guy to put in your stacks.
There you go. Diamondbacks and Braves, 4.6 run implied total for the D-backs, 4.8 for the Braves, 52% chance to win for Atlanta. Merrill Kelly going for the Diamondbacks, Kevin Gausman going for Atlanta. I normally get a lot of Merrill Kelly. Today doesn't seem to be that day. I normally get a lot of Kevin Gausman. I don't think today is going to be that day either. There's so much talent at the top for pitching. I don't mind getting to Gausman at 7,800. He looks like a relatively natural SP2 option, but he kind of just blends into Joey Lucchesi and John Gray, even like Eflin, Descalfani. I don't have a hot take here. These guys are fine. No one wants either of them, though.
No, that is a bit of an understatement. I'm just double checking to confirm that, yes, indeed, the roof will be open. Reminder, this is a 5:10 local time start there, so it is going to be close to 90 degrees in Arizona. That really eliminates the effect that the humidor has. But when they start to close the roof here, when it gets hotter and hotter there, you're going to want to remember that the humidor actually does work, and it sort of compounds things when they have the roof closed and they have the humidor. So it's a good almost 15 percent swing in runs, projected runs scored. If you look at Merrill Kelly here, he has a long and winding road on the way to the majors. Josh, how old do you think he is?
27.
He is a rookie, and he is 30 years old.
Okie doke.
So this is what I looked up last time, and I went heavily against him, despite him being in a revenge game on the Major League Baseball team that drafted him. Well, one of them. Do you know he was drafted 3 times?
I did not know that.
Out of high school, he was drafted when he was eligible again out of college, and then he went back into college for a year and was eligible once more. So he was the 37th round out of high school, 22nd round out of college, and then he got to the 8th round against Tampa Bay, against whom he made his starting appearance last week. He had been with Tampa Bay for 5 seasons, never got above AAA Durham. Then he spent the next 5 years in the Korean League. Suddenly, he had an uptick in his velocity. So much like Dennis Quaid in The Rookie, he got his chance in the majors. But I don't think he's a good pitcher.
Yeah, I'm going to be targeting against him. Braves are a little chalky, particularly on FanDuel. They're even more than a little chalky, but they're my 4th ranked stack on FanDuel and DK. I think for once I'm actually going to get to my Braves. Anybody in the top 4, Acuna, Swanson, Freeman, Donaldson, those are my faves for sure, but I'll fill out a stack with anybody. I'm excited to roster my tap my head Atlanta Braves.
There you go.
Braves bats for you?
Yes. I am good through Markakis. Okay. Oh, are they really going to put Dansby Swanson second?
They did yesterday.
But
Albies hit 6th yesterday as well.
Huh. Okay. Well, there you go. Top 6 then.
There you go. Diamondbacks bats, I do not like. I don't even have anybody that I want to one-off.
Peralta, but he's pretty spendy. 4,700 on DK. Escobar's 4,800. Not really interested in them. Where's Bundy breaking out on the popularity tonight?
Bundy?
Not Bundy. Sorry, Gaussman. Good God.
4%.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. So yeah, I don't see the need to really force in Diamondbacks. I will probably have 5 to 7% of my stacks will be Diamondbacks.
Okie doke. Rockies and Padres, we're heading to course. 5.6 run implied total for the Rockies, 4.9 for the Padres, 56% chance to win for Colorado. John Gray going for the Rockies, Joey Lucchesi going for the Pods. No ownership going here. Gray is under 10%. Lucchesi is basically none. I think that John Gray is the best non-really expensive option of the slate at 8,200 on DK. I actually like Lucchesi at 6,800 if you need to pay all the way down. I try not to have too much fear of cores. I think pitchers go under-owned, generally speaking, in Colorado. So I like Lucchesi to get different. I certainly like John Gray to get some ownership away from that DeGrom Cole. I think a lot of the Garrett Cole ownership that exists to the public will go to John Gray for me. Okay. And then for bats, I mean, it's course. I always want some sort of exposure to both sides. Padres and Rockies are my number 1 and number 2 stack on FanDuel and DraftKings. So I kind of want this whole game, both pitchers and both teams for stacking. I want to cover the whole gamut.
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely fair. And as more and more, Josh, that I'm being converted to this whole mass multi-entry and the leverage thing, you really can play both sides of a lot of these things. The interesting thing about Coors Field for the last week is they've had, the snow, the rain, the cold weather. While that would normally suppress run scoring, it hasn't seemed to do much of it lately.
No.
Hashtag variance. That's why they play the games. But this is one where would it shock you tonight if it was a 3-2 or a 4-3 game?
I would prefer it.
Yeah, you get maybe it's given up by the bullpens. Your starter gives up a couple runs, and then you somehow on the flip side corral 2 or 3 home runs because they go to Story and Arenado, and you're happy even though it was a game that didn't have a lot of production on either side. So that's kind of where I'm playing it tonight. I don't feel strongly if this was an 80-degree game, be all in on the bats, go for it. But I agree with you, especially when you're hand building and you're not allowing the optimizer to sort of take your biases out of things, Coors Field sways things way more than it should.
It really does. It's dramatic. It's dramatic. But what's your favorite bat in this game?
I like Lucchesi as a pitcher, but it's got to be Arenado at home against a lefty. I mean, that's just death taxes in Arenado with the home run against a lefty.
Yeah, give me Story, but Arenado is a very close second. And on the Padres side, Franmil Reyes. He's hitting second. I'm interested in that massive power. But I want this whole game. Nothing is off limits to me.
I'm glad that Hunter Renfroe is getting his due and proper. This is for you, South Hater. 5,300. That feels about right. He should be 5,300 even in San Francisco. What's our ownership on Kinsler with him at 3,600?
22%.
Yeah. Even though he's been, what is he now? He's like 37 years old. He's very, very, very much on the downward slope of his career, but he's leading off in Coors.
Yep.
At 3,600. So.
Yeah, he is very in play for me. To the Jakes we go. 5.5 run implied total for the Twins. 4 run implied total for the Tigers. 64% chance to win for the Twins. Cole Stewart going for Minnesota. Gregory Soto going for the Tigers. Not going to be getting to any pitching here. Twins bats, as we know, pretty expensive. They are my number 5 dollar for dollar stack on DraftKings, number 3 on FanDuel, and since I have Yahoo sorted incorrectly, let's get just the players out of there and figure out which team they are. Twins are 6th for Yahoo for me. So I would like to get more of the Twins bats. I'm not, based on the Steamer projections, I have no interest whatsoever in Soto and would like to target against him based on the Vegas line. I think that the public is going to agree with me. Here's the interesting piece. The Tigers are the chalk stack on DraftKings right now. They are 2nd on FanDuel. Tell me what you like here and explain to me why the Detroit Tigers are chalky.
They are chalky because Cole Stewart has a strikeout rate and a walk rate that are almost identical. That's all I can think of. Because again, as we mentioned in the earlier game, I'm really not a fan of the Tigers. They're top 3 guys. If it's Goodrum, Stewart, and Castellanos, they're all fine. We'll have to see if Miggy gets the double DH on the double header. But even then, I don't really want to go to him. Do you know against righties that Miguel Cabrera in his last 250 righties faced has a less than 100 isolated power? It's gone down.
Did not know that.
It's gone down. Wow.
Tigers are going to be very popular today for one reason and one reason only. Well, 2 reasons. Cole Stewart is one of those. The other reason is the fact that they are incredibly cheap, and we've got 3 11K-ish pitchers that are getting jammed into every lineup. So natural construction is leading people to 2 of the top 3 arms plus some sort of form of the Tigers. Looking to get different, that's what you need to do. Grab a different pitcher or get away from the Tigers.
Did you know that Griner, I looked this up last week, when he had 22 starts, he had allowed 15 stolen bases when he was behind the plate.
That's brutal, but
Yeah.
also very good for the base stealers of Minnesota.
Well, assuming Buxton is on base.
Good luck there. Favorite Twins bat today?
Do you think he and Billy Hamilton text each other all the time?
I'm going to assume they don't. Yeah, if Nelson Cruz is in here against the lefty and Soto, that's by far the best option of anything in this game. He should mash him. We got 2 to go. Heading to 9 o'clock now. Giants and Reds. Giants 3.5 run implied total. Reds 3.9. 54% chance to win for Cincinnati. Jeff Samardzija going for the Giants. Anthony Desclafani going for Cincinnati. Desclafani only 7% expected ownership right now. He's the 5th most expensive pitcher today, so kudos to DraftKings for dynamically pricing Desclafani in San Francisco because he is not a $9,200 guy normally. But here's the deal. I actually kind of like him. I think that he makes for a decent pivot to the the big time 10K guys. The problem is they're not, well, at least Scherzer is just not that much more expensive than him. I would much rather just find $1,200 more and go to Max Scherzer than and just play a crappier bat. I would like DeSclafani if there was one less top end guy here, but there's just too much talent at the top to really want to prioritize him. He grades out well, but this is not the spot for me.
Yeah. So the interesting thing is, then, well, what are you going to do with it? He is awesome against righties. He is god awful against lefties. But what Brandon Belt?
Yeah, the problem is that the lefties for the Giants are awful.
Yeah, they're not good. Stephen Vogt. I believe in Stephen Vogt.
He doesn't get my vote today.
Do you ever see that commercial? The I believe in Stephen Vogt?
No.
Oh, it's a good commercial. I'll send it to you.
I wouldn't even know where that would air.
It was from when he was in Oakland. It was a couple years ago, and the Oakland athletics fans were taking a page out of the soccer chants. But it's I believe in Stephen Vogt.
Yeah,
so the guy
never saw that in my life.
I believe. I believe in. And then they all go crazy. Pretty cool.
All for Stephen Vogt. That's probably not worth the production costs. Don't roster any Giants bats here. DeSclafani's a solid pitcher, and this is a terrible ballpark. As for the Reds, they are, I don't know, a mid-tier stack for me at best. I don't mind getting to Senzel, Votto, Winker, Puig. Some of these guys have some pop, but I just don't want to get... I hate getting hitters in Oracle Park now. You just keep the same name, people. AT&T's still around.
Pac Bell, baby.
Yeah,
Pac Bell.
Exactly. Are we going to stop calling it McCovey Cove at some point in time? I just can't imagine wanting to have much volume here. It's a terrible spot for offense.
So here's the perfect example. So on the season, Jeff Samardzija has allowed 6 home runs. They've all been on the road. Last 3 seasons, so not this year, but the 3 prior seasons, his entire time with the Giants, he has made 74 starts. He has allowed 60 home runs. 16 have been at home, 44 on the road. So that's Samardzija, who basically is fastball pitcher at this point. Everybody knows it's coming. And he's only allowed 16 home runs dating back to the beginning of 2015 it would be, in Pac Bell, T-Mobile, whatever the hell it is, phone company park. That's just crazy.
It is.
Josh.
It really is. That explains it, though, right?
Yeah, I mean that it's like, there you go. That's why you're playing Derek Rodriguez. That's why you're playing Samardzija. It's why you're playing, these horrible guys there when they're at home, because there just is not offense. And I've heard you say it many a time, but it makes Bonds, what he was doing, just that much more amazing.
It's insane. His numbers were ridiculous before you even take into account that he was playing in the best pitcher's park in baseball. Maybe second best behind Petco, but we're not going too far down that list before we get to it. And lefty power that's a place where lefty power goes to die.
And think about all those people in their wetsuits on their little kayaks and rafts.
Packed,
and stuff.
Like a parking, like a Walmart parking lot of kayaks and boats, all to catch a Barry Bonds home run.
Yeah. So I actually got to go. I was there for business in the early 2000s. And I was down there for a training class. So I went to a game, and it was cold and it was windy and it was against the Cubs. And he and Sosa were just knocking the shit out of the ball in batting practice, upper deck home runs. And you're just like, oh, good God. And then, in the game, I don't think either of them had a home run in that game.
Yeah,
but
I'm sure Bonds was 0 for 1 with 4 intentional.
Oh, yeah. It was just crazy. But if you watch now, there is no offense anymore. It's like just what those guys were doing, enhanced, yes, but what they were doing then, it's even though we have the juice ball allegedly and other stuff, what they were doing is light years ahead of what we're seeing now in that park.
Yeah, it's craziness, pure craziness. Final game of the main slate: Dodgers and Nats. 3.6 run implied total for the Dodgers, 3.3 for the Nats. 54% chance to win for LA. Walker Buehler on the hill for the Dodgers. Max Scherzer on the hill for the Nats. On a different day, I would think Walker Buehler looks really nice. Today's not that day. I can't imagine I would get a single share of Buehler. And based on the way that Texas grades out for me, I don't expect to get to Garrett Cole. DeGrom and Scherzer are my two main priorities in pitching. So I love Max Scherzer here. I don't want to get away from him. I don't really have any interest in the Dodgers bats at all. Just give me Max. What about you? Walker Buehler, Max Scherzer? Dodgers bats?
Scherzer, yes. Buehler, not as much. I wanted to go to, let me just see here. Sorry, I was trying to look it up. The reason I'm not as excited about Buehler, of course, is rest in Dave Roberts. Hat tip to my buddy Jay Walker, but he has not been as crazy as he has been in recent times. So over their last 4 starts, like literally everybody had gone, every one of his starting pitchers in each of their last 4 starts had gone 92 or more pitches. And I just wanted to see what had happened last night there, where Maeda landed. And now I've closed that window, but Maeda was at 86, which is pretty solid for him. Scherzer's been in the 90s, and it's a gimpy Scherzer. Kershaw, been in the 90s in his starts. They let Rich Hill, the aging wonder, 39-year-old Rich Hill, go for what did he throw, like 96 or something. Yeah. When he started 2 nights ago. So I wanted to just point that out, that you can't just always go with, and it was a thing for a long time. It's not a thing right now. Of course, if the perfect situation comes up where they need to do a double switch and it's the 5th or 6th inning or a pinch hitter or whatever it is, yeah, that's probably going to happen because it's Dave Robertson. It's what he does. But it's not quite the default that we once saw. And even if you look with Walker Buehler, he's been getting a decent leash for him. Now he won't go 100, but I just wanted to throw that out there, that it's not Dave Roberts, this and that. Just keep in mind things have changed a little bit, and it's enough of a track record that I don't know if they're not believing in their bullpen as much. But here's Buehler. His last 4 starts, he's gone 92, 96, 95, and 100 in his last one. So I want to call that out because I think too often you'll hear analysts we throw out the little platitudes, and I'll include myself in this, but you're just like, oh, well, this happens. It changes. Yeah. It changes. Yeah, there's a long tail on what's happening, but right now his pitchers are all going 90 pitches. And that's a big difference from where it was before. Cause that, the extra 10 pitches or so, that's an inning,
Yeah, for
just
sure.
Call that out.
Yeah, I love the pitching here. I just can't like Buehler as much as I like Scherzer, and I have really no interest in getting to any hitting. I have a lot of respect for both pitchers. I think Buehler's really good, and Max Scherzer I don't have to explain to anybody. If I do, you shouldn't listen, and I don't know how you made it through an hour and a half.
Right, what would Sean V do with Howie Kendrick? That's what I need to know.
Howie Kendrick? Probably play him because he grades out poorly for me.
Well, he is familiar with the batter side there in Chavez Ravine.
Yeah. I assume Sean V would like him. But Sean V, I want no part of this game from a hitting perspective. That's where we're at. 14 games up, 14 games down. Saturdays feel weird, but I like it. I'm back in business. Emac, do you have anything else here?
No, but we do have the Adam's going to be doing the deep dive, which I'm curious to see how much he espouses his love for John Gray.
Yeah,
we've got the spotlight hitters and hitters and stacks article for the early, the main, the evening, and the late night slate. Got you covered for everything there, even that 2-game slate at the end. As we mentioned, there's some decent pitching there. My thoughts were try to find lefties, if at all possible, going against Desclafani and Jeff Samardzija, but you're going to be hoping for doubles with somebody on base because there isn't going to be any home runs for the most part. But we have a show tonight, 6:00. Me and the one and only Chris Baggs.
There you go. Those are the plugs I needed. MLB Strategies, the promo code, 50% off your first month with us. Shout out to Yahoo Sports. Follow the link in Emac's article to Yahoo. If you're looking to sign up for it, use the promo code AWESEMO. Get $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points which will also be known tomorrow morning as yesterday's star Rick Porcello points. Gotta love it. Thumbs up for the video. Thumbs down. Thumbs down for the EMAC shirt for Sean V. Don't actually thumbs down the video. That'd be bad. I'm giving a thumbs down to that t-shirt. Best of luck, everybody, today. Have a good one. Enjoy your weekend.